Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the very first edition of Zelda Matters, brought to you by Zelda Universe TV. I am your host, Yumilos, and with me co-hosting today is the lovely Alex. Say hello, Alex.
Hello.
And we're here to bring you an all-new format to our video broadcasting shows. And this one is all about you guys. As you could probably tell, this is a Hangouts on air. And what that means is that you are able to phone in, as it were, to talk about your opinions on various Zelda subjects. And if you would like to do so, we have a link for you right here on this page that you can just follow. You'll get to meet the wonderful gatekeeper, Hombre de Mundo, and he will patch you through to us. So if you would like to come talk to us about your opinions, and we would love for you to have you do so, just go ahead and hit that link right now. So while we are waiting for a few people to come in, Alex, something amazing just happened just recently where we got the announcement for Majora's Mask 3D. What do you feel about that?
Honestly, I thought I was dreaming. I thought I needed someone to pinch me because I had no idea that was actually gonna happen. Like out of the blue, the direct starts, and what I see is like, I know this. Oh my gosh, it happened. I just exploded out of excitement. Like this is one of my favorite Zelda games of all time.
Yeah, it was pretty freaking amazing, that's for sure. Were you a part of Operation Moonfall, would you say? Were you a big supporter of that?
Oh well, I wasn't really part of that, but I would definitely say I'd support that for sure. It was definitely something that all the fans were getting together to like support and make it happen, and it happened.
Do you think that had an effect on it?
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of developers and game stuff like behind the companies are definitely reading what we talk about online, and because they're listening. I do believe Nintendo is listening to what we want, and they're able to give us what we want, and that makes us happy.
Definitely. I think it's a big surprise for me, honestly, because I think I've just always felt that Nintendo, while being a great game company, never really listened to like what fans were saying they really wanted. And I think that this shows that they're kind of taking a shift away from that and really giving us things that we're saying, yes, we will throw all our money at this and take it right away. And I think that it's absolutely amazing they actually went through with it. So,
Right. Honestly, I was a little scared because like last year we just found the announcement about Wind Waker HD, and Nintendo hadn't done Majora's Mask because that came before Wind Waker came out. So it was a little scary because we kind of thought Nintendo forgot about Majora's Mask for a second.
yeah, turns out they've been planning this for quite a while. They've had it in the works, and we're ready to do it. Which, honestly, I guess it makes sense.
Hmm.
Just uses most of the assets from Ocarina of Time 3D, I'm sure, just like the original
Oh,
Majora's Mask used assets from the original Ocarina of Time. So it was definitely something that wouldn't have required as much work as a different port or an all new Zelda
hmm,
game altogether, of course. But
right. I
so,
think overall it's going to be a great game to play again for sure. I I think there's going to be a lot more content to add as well, and whatever that's going to be, I have no idea. Maybe we'll have a Master Quest Majora's Mask. Maybe I don't know.
I think
But
we'll at least have hero mode at the beginning for sure.
oh yeah.
I think that it definitely has a lot of room for expansion on it too, just because of the original nature of Majora's Mask. It allowed you to go about the game in a very non-linear way and solve all sorts of problems that were given to you from the various people that lived in Termina. And
Hmm.
I think it'd be pretty awesome if they maybe added a few more entries into the Bomber's Notebook to allow you to
Hmm.
explore further the personalities and the struggles that different people went through in Termina. So they could definitely add content there. I hope they do, and don't make it just a. I mean, they said it's not just going to be a simple port, so
Right.
we'll see where that goes.
I'm trying to think if there's a way for like the game to be connected to Miiverse in some way. Because there are 3DS games that are connected to Miiverse, right? Like
Right.
in some way. I'm trying to figure out how that'll work out, if possible, because it definitely gives a lot of opportunity to share things with the gaming community and everything.
For sure. I mean, I definitely agree. I think Miiverse is one of those things that may not be as used as other features of the 3DS and Wii U, but it definitely makes for a different gaming experience when you're able to share things through that.
Hmm.
And it's also a pretty freaking funny one at times, too.
Yeah,
I don't know if they would just do something as simple as the bottles from Wind Waker or what, but I'm sure they
yeah.
might incorporate it in some way.
I just don't see a lot that'll change in the ways of the story because that's how Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker were played out. They were like the same thing. Because you know how they had to rush a lot of things in the game for Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker. Like originally there was going to be an ice temple in Ocarina of Time, and there was going to be a temple for Great Fish Isle, but time kind of made it impossible for that, so they couldn't change it either way in the remake. So I don't really see additional main story temples being added to Majora's Mask because
Definitely not. No. Yeah, because the four temple mechanic in Majora's Mask was incredibly important to the plot, so I can't
hmm
imagine them adding a whole other dungeon or anything like that. And I
hmm
know the cool thing about the dungeons that were cut out of Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker, even though they weren't brought back in the remakes, is the developers have touched on this a little bit, telling us
hmm
that those dungeons were reused for later games in the series. So
hmm
Wind Waker, for example, and this is pretty cool, took the elements of um, the Wind Temple and the Earth Temple that were originally supposed to be in Ocarina of Time and
hmm
really fleshed those out for Wind Waker to give you a much fuller story than it would have been allowed in Ocarina of Time when it first came
Oh,
out.
absolutely. And going on that ice temple thing, I think there's one in Twilight Princess, right? That kind of comes back from Ocarina of Time and goes to Twilight Princess.
Yeah, I mean, there's you
Yeah,
got the Snowhead Temple there, and you also is it Snowhead? I can't remember if it's Snowhead. Either way,
I
you
have
got
no
that one in
idea.
Twilight Princess, and you have it in Majora's Mask too. You have a whole ice dungeon in there, so they definitely were able to
hmm
use those elements later on. So as far as the new content goes, like I said, I don't think there's much else you can go for adding the stuff with other than the Bomber's Notebook, which, while providing a lot of content,
hmm
definitely allows you more stuff. So we have a question here: is Zelda
Oh.
U canceled? They haven't released any info on it since E3, and this comes from Technically Legits. So good news: Zelda U is definitely not canceled by any means whatsoever. But the way it pretty much works is, and this is partially my opinion, but also going to be partially correct to a degree, is that um, the Wii U doesn't have a whole lot of software out for it, so whatever information that can be drummed up for it needs to be drummed up to just allow at least some speculation. So last E3, we saw a trailer for Zelda U to get us pumped, let us know there's something coming, but it's probably going to be a bit until we actually see a lot more content for it. They may release it in a Nintendo Direct like in December or something to help get us hyped around the holidays. But don't worry, it's definitely still around. We're definitely still going to see it, and it's definitely going to be pretty freaking amazing.
Oh, I agree. I think it's been since 2012 since Zelda U was announced, right? And we haven't seen much of it since then, right?
Well, yeah, at first we definitely knew it was coming in 2012,
hmm
and we got our actual first look at it this past year's E3.
Yeah,
And
and a lot's changed since its first first teaser promotion, and like I wonder how that's going to look in the final product too, because it definitely proves that they're definitely working really hard to make Zelda U a really kick butt game, and I'm looking forward to that.
for sure, definitely. And I think it's definitely something to be excited about. And if you are definitely itching to play Zelda U, my recommendation for you, in the meantime, to keep you busy, play the first Zelda game first of all. Zelda U is going to be much more like the first game than any other Zelda game has been, at least if what the developers have told us is going to be accurate. But it's going to be a more open world adventure where you pretty much choose how you're going to go. The first Zelda game started off that way. It started off as an adventure where you choose exactly what you're going to do. And so I would recommend playing that. Wind Waker is also good to play because the second half of it plays out like the first game, and Majora's Mask, which is coming out again for the 3DS, is also a very non-linear game that could help get you ready for that. So,
But, but
um,
sorry.
I hate to cut you off there, but it looks like we do have our first guest coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to let him on the air now, or her. I actually don't know,
We'll
but
find out.
they are coming. They are meeting some trouble with the gatekeeper apparently because they are not here yet.
Oh,
All right, here we
I
go. YG
Oh,
Khan.
oh, hello. Yes.
hello.
Yeah. I mean, hey, hey, everybody.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question regarding Majora's Mask,
Go for it.
and yeah, I was just wondering since there are going to be some changes to make Majora's Mask sort of more user friendly for like new players. I was wondering what you think they could do for the first 3 days of Majora's Mask because they kind of are a bit daunting for new players. Just getting into that mechanic. So I don't know. What do you think about what they could change, perhaps, to make the first 3 days, more uh, accessible to new players?
I get what you're saying because yeah, that first for the first little bit, you're Deku Scrub Link, and you're kind of just thrown into to it and expected to live out the first 3 days for the entirety of it, whereas the rest of the time you are able to speed up time, slow down time, however you want to do it. So you're saying that like without time control, that first 3 days can be a little daunting, correct?
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
Although, I think that's kind of why they add the scarecrow in the observatory to make time go a bit faster.
well, yeah,
Oh, for sure.
but yeah, I mean, you can't use the Scarecrow until you get the Song of Time, though. You can't
Hmm.
speed up, or actually, that was well, if I could ask another question, or
Oh,
Sure.
please, yes.
yeah, yeah, I was wondering, like, with the Scarecrow, I mean, when you get the song, you can either you can slow down time, and you can speed up time, or you can play the
Hmm.
Song of Double Time, skip to either the night or the dawn of certain
Hmm.
days, depending on where you
Yeah.
are or what time it is. And so I was wondering, but there are certain quests that require you to be at let's say 2 p.m. and you either can skip to 6 p.m. or 6 a.m. So what do you think about if they changed it so that you could skip to like different increments instead of just 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. You could go to like
So,
2 a.m. and
like certain hours and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna.
I think
I was actually when you asked the first question, that's what I was thinking of. Is what if for the other days they allow that? And I think that would be magnificent because it's not very often that you're completing 5 or 6 things in the Bomber's Notebook at once. You're usually focusing on one exact thing, and
yeah.
I think that would be a magnificent change for the developers to incorporate. Whether they will or not, it's hard to say. But if they were going to make changes to make it more accessible, I think that would be. I mean, in my opinion, that would be at the top of my list if I was
Hmm.
working on that. So I think that's a very likely change we can see, but we'll
Hmm.
not be sure until it comes out. As for the first 3 days, just thinking them over in my head. I mean, I haven't played Majora's Mask in a while, and I know that the first 3 days I usually just kind of it wasn't the meat
Yeah.
of the game for me, so I didn't really.
There's
I
a
can't
lot of
really
really.
remember it being daunting, but I think to overcome that, pretty much they just have to give the players clean direction on what to do. Um, Overall, while Majora's Mask is a very non-linear game, if they make it just so that it's very obvious what you're supposed to do next,
Oh yeah.
that I think that would definitely help newer players, and that would be a good way of at least giving it kind of a tutorial stage without making the rest of the game easy. Just make that first 3 days linear, more so to allow people to get into what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's a good possibility too because um, back in like the early like late '90s, weren't they tasked to like make this game in like under a year, right? And they've had about 3 years to remake this game. So I could definitely see something like that being implemented to make the game more easier to play through.
Yeah, maybe it'll be like the Sheikah stones in either
Mm,
Skyward Sword or Ocarina of Time 3D. I don't know.
yeah,
Could add
I can
something.
almost guarantee we'll be seeing those for sure, considering how prevalent they've been with the I don't know Nintendo's answer to making things more accessible has often been put hints
Like
in the game to help people. So
yeah, yeah, that's
I
fair.
think that's a good
I think so.
possibility.
hmm
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much. all I got.
All right. Well, let's hear your thoughts on. We were just talking about Zelda U over here because we had a question about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you? I got a question for you. Have you ever played the first Zelda game?
Yeah, played Zelda 1
And what have you
on the
thought? What
Wii.
did you think of it compared to the rest of the series? Out of curiosity.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. Just you could go to basically any dungeon that you wanted to. You could just freely explore. There wasn't really the much of in the ways of story, and it's like I just had fun. I remember when I got the I think it was the magic rod, and you got the book as well, and I just I just went around setting things on fire.
I can definitely relate to that.
Just, and just finding secrets as well. It's just fun.
Yeah.
Like,
And do you think that would be a, having played that, do you think that's a really good way for the next Zelda game to go? Because I mean, that sounds like what we're going to be going with. But yeah.
I do think that is quite possibly the way that Zelda U will be structured. Just you can go wherever you want, and you can just freely explore and not held down by any kind of story reasons. So yeah.
And just out of curiosity, we have all the 3D Zelda games have been, for the most part, increasingly cinematic. We had Ocarina of Time with a little bit of cutscenes going on. Twilight Princess and Wind Waker really upped the game on that, and then Skyward Sword was pretty much a movie for a lot of it.
Yeah.
With that increasing amount of cinematic elements in Zelda games, it's looking like we're going to have one where we're going to have very minimal cinemas. Do you think that's going to put off many fans, or do you think that people are going to be able to embrace that?
Honestly, I think people will be able to embrace it because I think just in general the video game industry is moving more towards putting high definition cinematics and just cutscenes, and I think it'll just be sort of if there isn't any or a whole lot in Zelda U, I think it'll be a nice change that people will like. So
Gotcha. Yeah. I definitely agree. I definitely think it'll be good and refreshing, and I can't wait to play it personally. So, well, let's see. Wajid, do you want to stay on for a minute more? We got a question that you might be able to answer.
Oh yeah, sure.
Let's do it. All right. So, technically legit once again is asking a question. This time he asks, do you guys think there are going to be new dungeons and areas in Majora's Mask 3D? What do you think?
New dungeons? No, I don't think there are going to be new dungeons because the 4 areas in Majora's Mask are really integral to like the story, the four regions, the 4 giants, I guess. But yeah, so I don't think there are going to be any new dungeons, but new areas. Yeah, I think actually there may be some sort of like mini dungeons perhaps. Like I remember in Majora's Mask, if you went to like the Ikana, I think it was the Ikana Canyon, or like just the entrance to that, and you turned left, you could go like through a waterfall, and there would be like a little mini boss gauntlet that you did get a piece of heart. If you completed that, so maybe we might get something akin to that, maybe some sort of secret. I don't know. I wouldn't keep my hopes up for any new, like, entirely new areas, and especially no new dungeons either. So that's just what I think.
Gotcha. Well, excellent. Well, Wajid, thank you very much for your input. Do you have any other questions for us?
No, actually, I think I've got my questions answered.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay. So, looks like we have another question here from Technically Legit. He is asking, when do you think we will receive more Zelda Wii U information? Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That's from Samuel Lemon. Sorry, Samuel. I did not mean to not give you proper credit. Alex, what do you think about that? When do you think we're going to see more information on Zelda Wii U?
Probably sometime in 2015. At least maybe during another direct before E3, I want to say, because there isn't a specific time in 2015 it's announced yet, right? No Holly 2015?
No, there's no specific date given.
No. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's gonna be sometime during a direct, and definitely sometime in 2015, maybe in the spring at least, before E3.
Gotcha. Honestly, I actually wouldn't be too surprised if we don't see it sooner. Considering we have a pretty big release coming out at the end of the month with, well, actually just in a little over a week with Super Smash Brothers for the Wii
Hmm.
U. And once that happens, um, the upcoming titles for the Wii U kind of get a little sparse at that point. I mean, we have Captain Toad's
Hmm.
Treasure Tracker, and while I'm sure that may very well be a great game, that is not a game I would consider by any means to be a system seller. So I
You
think that it
never
will
know.
be. Oh, you never know. I mean, it very well will. I'm sure it'll have charm up the butt and be able to be a really fun experience. But I don't think it's going to be the thing that people are clamoring for, as opposed to games like Super Smash Brothers, where everybody wants that game. Like you don't even have to like Nintendo very much, and you're still going to want to play Super Smash Brothers, and that's going to be a super huge system seller for Nintendo.
Hmm.
So I think with that out the door, I think they're going to need to. I think they're really going to need to get more hype for upcoming releases, and Zelda Wii U being what could be the greatest release they can come up with for 2015. And actually, no, it will be the greatest release of 2015. It's going to be a new Zelda game. Of course, it's the greatest. Um,
Hmm.
I really think that the sooner that they reveal more information, the better with that. So my guess is going to be December.
December to announce stuff.
December to announce stuff, at least a little bit of information. I don't know what kind of information. Hopefully, another trailer. That would be pretty sick. But um,
Yeah, I
we'll
don't
see
think there's any games coming out in January for Nintendo, so I think that's like a pretty good time to announce stuff,
for sure.
possibly. So, so I definitely do think we'll get something, maybe not soon, but maybe in the distant future.
Gotcha.
Right.
All right. Silver S Beyond 64 asks, do you think they'll make the Knife's Quest and Majora's Mask easier in the remakes? You have no idea how much I hope they do. Um, so
Can you
for those of you,
refresh? I'm sorry. Can you refresh on that? Like, what is that quest about?
okay, so with the Knife's Quest, the way it works in Majora's Mask is you have your Kokiri sword for most of the game, and if you didn't look too hard, that would be pretty much all you'd be stuck with the entire game. So um, at
Oh.
At one point, after you cleared the second big dungeon and you're able to explore the Snowhead area a little bit better, you're able to get an upgraded sword, and then you're able to get a further upgraded sword after that. But the problem is it all had to be in the span of a 3 day period, and
Mhm.
was very difficult to figure out on your own. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people that did it, but I know a lot of people went through a walkthrough to do that one. So
Mhm.
I think the best thing they could do for that is to make it not time sensitive. I think that if you get the gold powder, I think you should be able to keep it. I think you should be able to stick with it and be able to upgrade to the gilded sword without having to do it all in one day. I think that would be the best thing because I'm all for challenge, but that thing was just a little bit ridiculous to pull off and
It
very not
was.
obvious.
Yeah. I mean, we know for sure the blacksmith guys in the game because from the previews in the trailer.
Oh yeah,
So it's going to be a thing to do, but hopefully it's not as complicated as it was in the first game.
definitely not. And I mean, they showed us already in
But
Ocarina of Time that they're willing to make things less complicated because the Water Temple, they put all those nice shiny lines everywhere to help us figure out where to go. And
hmm
even myself, someone who didn't really consider the Water Temple to be that ridiculously terrible, I found that to be a welcoming change because I definitely could see where people were coming from on that.
hmm But speaking of keeping the gold dust and everything, I like that just reminds me of one big game thing that happens. Like every time you go back to the first day, like you lose a lot of your inventory. So I'm
Oh yeah.
wondering if they're gonna keep that or if they're gonna allow you to keep all the stuff. But then again, that would make the bank guy for the rupee kind of pointless.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that they'll keep in there, just
Hmm.
because it did add challenge. I just think some of the more ridiculous challenges, like the Gilded Sword, could be toned down a bit.
Hmm.
Um, we just had a guest. I don't know where they went.
Uh-oh.
OMGG, GGG, where are
Let's
you?
let's wait for Ombre to confirm before we just cut him off. I
All
think he'll
right,
come
let's
back.
see. Yeah, yeah. If you're out there, we want you on the show.
Come to us. Children. All right. Let's see. Well, besides the games coming out, there are the amiibos for Link and Zelda announced. And
Heck
Toon
yeah,
Link.
there are.
Yeah.
Toon Link just got announced and is pretty freaking exciting. I cannot wait to be collecting those. And
Yeah.
it looks like we have our guest back. They are about to join us. So
Yep.
excellent.
Awesome.
All right, Robert Maloney, welcome to the call. How are you doing?
I am doing fine. All right, so I have some interesting things. Just one topic that I want to go over, if that's all right with you.
Go for it.
Sure.
So I want to go over the possible sales figures for Majora's Mask 3D for the remake.
Okay.
Just looking at Ocarina of Time sales numbers to this remake, it sold about half as many remakes as it did for the original release. It looks like the same thing is going to be for Wind Waker. For Wind Waker HD, it sold 1.08 million so far compared to the 4.60 for the original. Majora's Mask originally sold 3.36 million units. Do you think it will do better or worse than the remakes for the other games?
I don't think it's going to do quite as good because we definitely know from just the past that Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time were two of the most critically acclaimed Zelda games in the franchise. And while Majora's Mask is definitely very well loved by the fan base, their popularity of Majora's Mask was never quite as high as Ocarina of Time. Now that being said, Ocarina of Time came out the remake came out very close to the beginning of the 3DS's lifespan. And honestly, I think that could have a big impact of it. 2013 was a magnificent year for the 3DS and got a lot of people buying it and showed how many good games there could be. So anyone who currently does own a 3DS and wants the next great thing will likely want it. And with the install base as big as the 3DS's is, we may see it surpass the that selling at half as much as the original that you're talking about there. So popularity-wise, I don't think it has as good a shot, but at the point it's being released, I think that does increase its chances a little bit. So it's really hard to judge for sure exactly how well it's going to do.
Okay. The other thing is as you said, the 3DS has a lot bigger of a base now for the Majora's Mask 3D release compared to Ocarina of Time's release for the 3DS. But the fans for Majora's Mask are a lot more vocal than Ocarina of Time. Although Ocarina of Time is regarded as one of the best games of all time, no pun intended, Majora's Mask fans are a lot more outgoing, and Operation Moonfall was a very big operation. Do you think, because of how vocal there are, people who didn't play Majora's Mask in the past are more likely to play it now?
Honestly, I really think they will be, especially because the Nintendo 64 wasn't exactly a popular system back then either. I think there will be definitely a good chance of that with the amount of hype that there is generated by the fan base. I think you could be right. I think that could lead to a lot of new experiences with Majora's Mask that weren't there before. Okay. So thank you very much for calling. We are going to have to move on to the next guest, but we do appreciate your input. Thanks again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, looks like we're going to be on here with Brian B. in a second. Brian B., we cannot hear you. Ombre, is that your fault?
It's always his fault.
Ombre says yes, it is his
There we
fault.
go.
There we
I'm
go.
still muted.
Welcome to the show.
Hey.
All right, so what's on your mind right now? What do you got for us?
Well, I haven't been following the stream, but I've tuned in now. So yeah, I'm really excited about MM3D. I don't have a 3DS right now, but I'm potentially looking at getting one maybe next year. I'm wondering if I should wait to get a new 3DS as opposed to getting one right now and potentially getting Smash Brothers. So I'm not sure about that.
Do you have a Wii U?
I don't. No.
Okay. So I will say it would definitely be hard to resist the urge to buy it for Smash Brothers, and I can't really in all good consciousness tell someone to wait for Smash Brothers either. But the new 3DS is going to have a lot of really good improvements on it, and from most people I've been talking to, I have been telling them to wait on it just for that, because speaking from a strictly technical standpoint, new 3DS is just better in every single way, especially because it's even going to allow you to play games that you won't even be able to play on your normal 3DS. So, for example, are you an RPG fan? I assume you know about Xenoblade Chronicles. Is that a thing you're interested in?
Oh, yeah, I like what I see from X so far, like from all the trailers and everything, the announcements. I never played Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii. Uh, I would love to. I don't. I'm in college right now, so I don't have any consoles with me right now. But I definitely want to. I definitely want to try to play Xenoblade Chronicles, especially if I get a Wii U, since I'll have the chance to do that when X comes out as well.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, in that case, against what I would say for wanting to do something right away, I definitely would hold off on buying a new 3DS. Well, buying a new version of the current 3D. I don't know how to say this properly with their naming scheme.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah, I don't know what to call it either.
wait to buy a new 3DS is pretty much what I'm getting at, because
Yeah.
ultimately, I know most people aren't the type of people that can throw down $200 now and another $200
Oh, yeah,
later.
Mm.
Not many people have that kind of cash, and in the long run, you're going to get a lot more use out of the new 3DS for sure, and you'll be able to enjoy it a lot more, especially because as a Smash fan, I'm sure you've played previous versions of Smash Brothers, and one thing that is severely lacking from the current 3DS is a C-stick, and it's definitely something that's a very welcome addition for the new 3DS.
I would say the battery life probably makes a little bit of difference too, because I know that the 3DS, like compared to like the DS Lite, for instance, has a far lower battery or has a lower battery life. I think it's like max it can get maybe like 10 hours or so, like if you turn off different functions.
Yeah.
But I imagine with Smash Brothers, that's going to be kind of a big deal. Maybe more people, because I know a lot of people use their 3DS, like they'll have it connected to like AC power. They'll have it charging, but I imagine with more people with Smash Brothers, more people doing multiplayer, I imagine that the battery life will become a little bit bigger deal. But I don't know if that's going to be, if there's going to be much of an improvement with the new 3DS actually.
They've given us a few stats for that. It sounds like there will be an improvement, not a drastic one, but there will be at least an improvement. They pretty much said for the smaller model that it'll at least eke out 30 more minutes than the previous one. For the larger model, I think it's about the same, if not maybe an hour more. But the battery will be better. Not a huge deal better, but it will at least be better. Which is good, because one of the great things about the new 3DS is the 3D works much better than the current one as well, and the 3D does eat up a little bit more battery. Not that you'll be using 3D for playing games like Smash Brothers, but on certain games, it's absolutely beautiful to look at. I mean, there are many games where I definitely love leaving the 3D on right now, and so that'll be good to be able to at least eke out a little bit more out of that.
Yeah,
sure.
Hopefully, it doesn't kill you waiting much longer, but I definitely do think it is worth the wait. So
definitely.
Especially, I have a pretty large library of games already.
Oh yeah,
to buy into.
There are plenty of things I can recommend for the 3DS, and the crazy thing is almost all of them are made by Nintendo themselves. They've done a really good job of supporting the system with top quality first-party games and second-party games. So whenever you do get one, you'll have plenty to play. So, Brian, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Everyone that was listening into this stream, thank you very much for joining us for our very first episode of Zelda Matters. We'll be planning on doing this pretty frequently, so we expect all of you to be tuning in every week and definitely want to take your calls. So thanks again. Thank you to Alex for your participation in this. Appreciate it. Thank you to Radio Mundo, the gatekeeper, for doing a great job of throwing people at us. Oh my gosh, there he is.
It's been, as a first time, this has been very difficult because, just getting the link in there, and then Firefox didn't want to load the Google Hangouts, and I was panicking.
Well, but, I think this is pretty good for a first call. But
oh, totally.
Yeah, so.
And next week will be a lot easier. So yeah, for everyone who wants to join, just join us next week, same time, same Zelda Universe TV channel.
on
right.
the internet. All right. So until then, thank you everyone, and have a wonderful week.
Thank you.